What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to LiQWYD, and if you've been on this channel for any amount of time at all, you probably know that Blackwings are my favorite archetype of all time. I have grown up on this deck ever since I watched the anime back when I was a kid. It was the first deck that I made when I actually started playing the game in 2019, and I've played this deck non-stop over the years. I absolutely love everything about it, and you can imagine my excitement when I saw the announcement that we were getting new Blackwing support in the newest OCG core set Darkwing Blast coming out, I believe in the OCG sometime in the summer. It's gonna be the core set after Power of the Elements, so the TCG will probably get it around October, November time. But yeah, we're finally getting new Blackwing support after however many years. I know a lot of people that don't really like the deck are not happy to hear that we're getting even more support. As you can see, I have the number of Blackwing cards pulled up here on EDO Pro. There is 78 total cards related to this archetype now, which makes it one of the biggest archetypes in the game, which is probably the reason why many people like it. But if you've played the deck like me at all the past couple years, you will know that it has not been very good. So I've been waiting for a new wave of support to come out and try to revamp this deck and hopefully give it, its own place in the competitive game as it is. And they, lo and behold, gave us 10 new cards of support in this set, which is absolutely insane. The Konami has been kind of in this like 5Ds renaissance as of late, where they're giving, especially focusing on the Signer Dragon aspect of the anime itself, they're giving all the Signer Dragons and their associated archetypes these support waves of legacy support over the past year. Like Stardust Dragon got their support in Dawn of Majesty last year. The Rose Dragons have been fleshed out in a couple sets over the past year. We're getting the new Morphtronic / Power Tool Dragon stuff, I believe in Power of the Elements that comes out, and now we have our Blackwing support. This wave of support is obviously focused more around the original Black-Winged Dragon synchro monster, which is not a very good card. They tried to do this with like the last wave of support that we got in one of the legendary duelist packs. They tried to bring this card back into the archetype so that people would use it. It didn't really work. People still didn't run it because this card is just absolutely terrible, and the cards that were focused around it were not too great for the archetypes. But they decided to go all in with these 10 cards and make this card the main focus of the support, which I probably would have preferred them to do something else and probably focus on the gameplay style that the Blackwings have been known for over the past couple of years. But I do get why they had to do it, because they are in that 5Ds renaissance, like I said, and they want to give support to all the dragons in particular. So I do understand why they did that. But after reading these cards, so I've obviously seen these cards already. I have been playtesting and theory crafting with these cards nonstop for the past however many days it was since they've been released. These cards are really, really good. I'm really, really happy with how this support came out. So if you don't know what the Blackwings are, they basically revolve around two different gimmicks. The first one being this continuous spell card. It's called Black Whirlwind, and basically all it reads is that when you normal summon a Blackwing monster, you can add another Blackwing monster from your deck to your hand with attack less than the normal summon monster. This is not once per turn, not once per copy, and why Blackwing decks, especially back in the day, were so revolutionary in just being able to gain card advantage across the course of a duel. And the other main gimmick of this deck is the board presence and board spam ability of these cards. So a lot of the Blackwing monsters, they have this summoning condition, like you see on Gale the Whirlwind here, that if you control a Blackwing monster other than the specific name of the one that you're trying to summon, you can special summon it to your field for free. Really, really good board spam engine, and it was, again, this in tandem with a card like Black Whirlwind, which lets you search any of these cards to special summon themselves for free, is the real reason why this deck took off so well in the TCG a number of years ago. So having known that, let's get right into what the new support cards are. So they gave us 5 main deck monsters. They gave us 1 new spell, 2 traps, and 2 extra deck monsters, which I think is a really, really good lineup. It's a really well-rounded lineup, and all of these cards read really, really crazy, which is insane. So we'll start off with our level 2 tuner here. Our first main deck monster, his name is Blackwing Vada the Knave. This card is basically what the deck has been hoping for several years. So it's a level 2 tuner with the same special summoning condition as Gale. The thing with the newer age Blackwings is that most of them, while they have the same summoning condition as Gale and Bora and all the original ones that special summon themselves, they're all hard once per turn. So cards like Harmattan and Orochi and Chris are all hard once per turn on their special summoning conditions, and that is what the summoning condition for Vada the Knave is. You can only summon him that way once per turn. The way that this card becomes really, really busted is its second effect, which reads that you can send this card and one or more Blackwing non-tuners from your deck to the graveyard whose total levels equal 8, and then special summon the vanilla Blackwing dragon from your extra deck. This card, so being not only a special summonable level 2 tuner, which the deck has never had, but previously the only level 2 tuner the deck had access to was Blackwing Mistral the Silver Shield, which is a downright terrible card. This card does not have obviously have the special summoning condition, and it's just a really bad card altogether. You don't want to play it. The only other level 2 tuner that the deck has is Blizzard the Far North, which is a very good card, but that little line of text at the beginning that says this card cannot be special summoned really hurts the ability of this deck. So this Vada is the first time that the deck has had a level 2 tuner with a special summoning condition, which is already really, really good because level 2 tuners are really, really important for a lot of the synchros in this deck. The second effect is a Foolish Burial for multiple Blackwing monsters that gets you a free body on board, which is ridiculous when you read some of the other cards in this support. So this card right off the bat is really, really good for the deck. Next up, we have the level 4 tuner Blackwing Shamal the Sandstorm. This card reads that you can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard. And if you do place one Blackwing Black Feather Whirlwind, which is not the original Black Whirlwind, it's actually this new spell that we'll get to in a second, face up in your spell and trap zone. So right off the bat, this card can't be Ash, which is really nice because it places the card from your deck right into your field or spell or trap zone. It doesn't actually add to your hand, which is actually really nice. And then a second effect reads that if a Blackwing Synchro monster and or the original Blackwing Dragon is special summoned to your field while this card is in your graveyard, you can banish this card, then target one Blackwing monster in your graveyard, add it to your hand, then take 700 damage. This card is really, really good because obviously with its first effect to set the Black Feather Whirlwind, you can send it to the grave, and then it's already set up in the grave to use the second effect and recur resources back to your hand, which is really, really good. It's something that the deck has sorely been lacking, is recurring resources from grave back to your hand to use for follow-up plays or to use for play extension, stuff like that. So that second effect is really, really good. Similarly to Vada, this is also a level 4 Blackwing tuner that can be special summoned. Previously, the best level 4 Blackwing tuner was also the South Wind, which is a really, really good card and has been essential for a lot of the combos that the deck has been putting on for the past year, several years really, since the card's been released. But it also shares the same first line of its effect with Blizzard, that it cannot be special summoned. And while that might not seem too crazy, because obviously you have, not every Blackwing monster needs to be special summoned to be good, but when you realize that the deck has really revolved around using cards like Raid Raptor Y-Strix to summon level 4s out of the deck, it makes it really advantageous to have a tuner to be able to special summon off that Y-Strix. And previously, there was only one singular Dark Winged Beast level 4 tuner in the game that could be special summoned off the Y-Strix and used for a synchro summon, and that is Blackwing Decay the Illwind. There's one other level Dark Winged Beast level 4 tuner that could be special summoned, and that is another Blackwing monster called Kochi Daybreak, which is a terrible card because it reads that if you special summon this card, you cannot use it as synchro material. So if you special summon it, it doesn't do anything for synchros. So previously, this was the only tuner target that you could summon off of your Y-Strix, and this card is really bad. It's terrible. It's a brick in the deck, and you'd never want to see this card. So you were reluctant to play this if you wanted to summon a tuner off of your Y-Strix. Now we have Shamal, and this card is actually really, really good. It's getting this card on field off your Y-Strix, using it as a synchro play to get it in the graveyard, and then if you use this card to synchro into a Blackwing monster or a Blackwing Dragon and it gets sent to the graveyard, you can use this card as effect right away to banish it and then gain whatever resource you want back from grave to your hands. This card is really, really good, and I'm really happy that they printed this card. Next up, we have Blackwing Chinook the Snowstrike. This is a level 2 non-tuner with 100 attack, which is really important because, like I said, with Black Whirlwind, you can search Blackwing monsters with less attack than the attack of the Blackwing monster you normal summon while that card is on field. So the fact that this card has 100 attack means that it can be searched off of basically any Blackwing monster that you want that you can normal summon with Black Whirlwind up. And this card is really essential for the deck. So it reads, you can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard, then target one face-up monster your opponent controls, send one Blackwing Synchro monster or Blackwing Dragon from your extra deck to the graveyard, and if you do, the targeted monster loses 700 attack and its effects are negated. The key to this card reads is that this is a quick effect if you control a Dark Synchro monster. So like I said, the new wave of support really focuses on synchro summoning and especially synchroing with the Blackwing Dragon monster. So chances are if you're using this new support, you're going to have a Dark Synchro monster on field at some point. So having a searchable effect veiler of sorts for the deck is really good, because the deck has been sorely lacking in negation effects and really interaction on your quick effect interaction in general. So having a card that is searchable that lets you interact with your opponent on their turn is really good. Next up, we have probably what is the absolute best card of the support lineup, bar none, Suthri the Illusory Spark. This is a level 4 non-tuner that reads, if when this card is normal summoned, you can add one card that mentions Blackwing Dragon from your deck to your hand, except itself, and then you contribute one monster, special summon one Illusory Spark token, which is a Wing Beast Dark level 2 tuner, which is very important, and then take 700 damage, but you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the entire turn that you activate this effect, except synchro monsters, which is really important. This effect has been in question since the card was revealed, because apparently the original Japanese article translated to say that you couldn't special summon for the rest of the turn after you activate this effect, but it was confirmed that this effect actually locks you for the entirety of the turn. So it's not like you can do a bunch of link plays, then normal summon Suthri, and then use its effect for the token, and then just be locked into for the rest of the turn. You can only special summon synchro monsters for the entirety of the turn, which is a little bit annoying. When I first read this card, I really wanted it to be like a Sword Soul monster, because that's honestly what it's trying to be. Special summoning a token that's a tuner obviously is very similar to the Sword Soul monsters, but the Sword Soul monsters all lock you into synchros for as long as that token remains on the field, instead of locking you for the entire turn. So I kind of wish that this card had the same restriction and locking effect, but it is what it is. In all honesty, after testing this deck for a little bit, you don't really tend to use this effect too often, which is actually kind of crazy to think about, because it summons a tuner token for free synchro plays, but you don't really go into this effect too often. Where this card becomes really busted is obviously its first effect. It's normal summon effect to add a card that mentions Blackwing Dragon from your deck to your hand. Now, at first glance, this doesn't sound really good, because obviously Blackwing Dragon isn't a very good card and doesn't have too many very good support cards, until you read the fact that every single one of these new support cards all read Blackwing Dragon in their effect. So any one of these cards can be searched off of Suthri, including your Vada, including your Shamal, including your quick effect negation effect in Chinook, which is really good. That's what makes this deck really good. Another thing to note is that this normal summon effect is not once per turn. Now, obviously it's a normal summon effect, and typically you only get one normal summon per turn, but Blackwings are a deck that specialize in giving you multiple normal summons per turn, so the fact that you can use this effect to search multiple cards per turn is really good. Another thing that this card can search, apart from the support cards that are released in this wave, is Blackbird Close. Now, this is what I mentioned in their last wave of support that was released in one of the Legendary Duelist packs a number of years ago, that tried to tie the Blackwing Dragon back into the archetype. This is a counter trap that basically you can activate it from hand if you control a Blackwing synchro monster, and it negates a monster effect your opponent controls, and then special summons the Blackwing Dragon from your extra deck. Previously, people didn't play this card, even though it is really powerful, because it was unsearchable by the deck. You couldn't search it in any way. Blackwings didn't have any back row searches whatsoever. So you would rarely ever want to play this because it was just unsearchable, and you would rather just play something like Solemn Strike. Now that we have a card that searches cards that have Blackwing Dragon in its name, and Blackbird Close obviously does, you can finally search this card, and that's just another piece, obviously with Chinook, to have more quick effect interaction with your opponent on their turn, which is really good for the deck. Next up, we have the level 6 Zonda the Timely Knight, and this is a level 6 with 2300 attack that says that you cannot special summon monsters while you control this card except synchro monsters, and then it has 2 effects, both of which that you can only use 1 per turn and only once that turn. When it's normal special summon, you can target a monster on the field and return it to hands, but the real good part about this card is that while it's in the graveyard, you can banish it and then special summon a level 5 or higher Blackwing monster from your hand or deck, then take damage equal to its attack. This card honestly reads very lackluster at first because it is a tribute monster that doesn't have a special summoning condition, until you realize that cards like LiQWYD exist and that can easily get this card into the graveyard to use its second effect to get another free body on field. This card gives Assault Blackwing Kunai the Drizzle a really good place in the deck now, which is honestly something that I never thought I'd say, because at first glance this card reads really bad and it was never played before in any Blackwing builds, but now that this card is easily summonable, it actually has a really good place in a lot of combos because it can level modulate any of your synchro monsters to go into other synchro plays and stuff like that. A thing of note is that this card can also summon itself, so if you want to play multiples, you can play another Zonda. Obviously, you can't use its first effect in the same turn that you use the summon effect, which kind of sucks, but it is still a really big body and it is a nice level to go into your synchro plays. So that's it for the main deck monsters. Now we're going to move on to the lone spell that they give us, which is the Black Whirlwind Rechain, notably named Black Feather Whirlwind. This card reads that once per turn, if you special summon a Dark Synchro monster from the extra deck, you can target a Blackwing monster or Blackwing dragon with lower attack that is banished or in your graveyard, which is really important, and special summon it. And then it also has a protection effect, kind of like Salamangreat Balinx in a sense, where once per turn, if a dark monster or dark monsters you control would be destroyed by a battle or card effect, you can remove a black feather counter from your field instead of destroying those cards. Black feather counters tie back into the original Blackwing Dragon, which is the kind of counter that this card puts on itself when you would take effect damage. Black feather counters are only listed on one other card in the game, and that is the new retrain of Blackwing Dragon that we'll get to in a bit. So there's not many cards in the game that you can remove black feather counters. I don't really know why this card wouldn't, generate black feather counters itself to use this effect, which is ultimately why this second effect rarely ever comes up. But the first effect is really, really good because in tandem with cards like Shamal and being able to get this card on field very easily, and then using cards like Vada to easily summon out a synchro monster to your field, you can recur resources like the Vada or like the Shamal and get just more board presence and use from more synchro plays. So this card is very, very good for that. Also, something that I should mention is that this card's first effect is a soft once per turn, meaning that you can bounce it back to your hands with cards like Zephyros the Elite, and then use it again to summon even more cards back to your field, which is very essential for the main combo lines of this deck. Next up, we have our 2 new traps, first of which being Blackwing Twin Shadow. So this card reads, return 2 of your Blackwing monsters that are banished or in your graveyard to the deck, 1 being a tuner and 1 being a non-tuner, and then special summon a Blackwing Synchro monster or Blackwing Dragon from your extra deck whose levels exactly equal the total levels of those monsters. And then this is also treated as a synchro monster. And then the real key of this card is that if you control 2 or more Blackwing monsters, you can activate this card from your hand. So this card is really, really good. This card, honestly, it reads kind of weird when you first look at it, but after you test more and more, I love this card more and more the more that I play with it. It is so good for both combo extension and ending boards because it's a trap. Obviously you can use it on your opponent's turn, which gives cards like Blackwing Silverwind the Ascendant, which was previously a card that nobody ran. This card was released back in 2010 and it has never been ran in any Blackwing deck as far as I know since the beginning of time, but the fact that you can now trigger this card on your opponent's turn with a card like Twin Shadow makes this card actually, it gives this card a nice spot in the deck for, again, just more quick effect interaction on your opponent's turn is really, really nice. But this card's second activation condition, where if you control 2 or more Blackwings to use it from your hand, makes this card also really good for play extension to go into your synchros and just do more stuff. And it also recycles resources back into your deck. This card really does everything. It's really, really good. And then the final trap of the new support is the counter trap Black Shadow Squall. So this is notably very similar to Salamangreat Roar. It reads when a spell or trap is activated, remove a black feather counter from your field, negate the activation if you do destroy it, and then if you control Blackwing Dragon, you can set this card from your graveyard but banish it from the field. So like I said, this card reads very similarly to Salamangreat Roar, to where it's basically a counter trap negation effect that can reset itself if certain conditions are met. The only problem being everything that made Salamangreat Roar really good is not present in this card. Not only can this not negate monster effects, it's only spell and trap negation. It requires you to remove those black feather counters from your field again, which, like I said earlier, are only present on 2 cards in the entire game, and you'd rather be using those counters for other things, as we'll talk about in a little bit. So this card honestly is probably the worst card released in this support. It's a nice side deck option in certain formats where spell and trap cards are really prevalent, but other than that, honestly, you probably wouldn't run this card. It's not too great. Now moving on to the 2 extra deck monsters that they gifted us. First up, we have our level 6 synchro Blackwing Boreas the Evil Wind, or Blackwing Boreas the Demonic Wind, whichever one it is. This is a level 6 synchro tuner monster that reads, if this card is synchro summoned, you can send 1 Blackwing monster from your deck to the graveyard, and if you do, this card's level becomes that monster's, and then it has a battle effect after that, which is kind of like Goyo Guardian, where if it destroys a monster by battle, you can banish a Blackwing from your field or graveyard and then special summon the destroyed monster back to your field. That really never goes off because obviously this first effect is very similar to Vada in getting graveyard resources into your graveyard, like Zonda or like your Zephyros, to use for play extension, and it being a synchro tuner makes it obviously really good for going into synchro climbing. This card combos really well with Zonda and Assault Blackwing Kunai the Drizzle that I mentioned earlier, being able to get Kunai onto the field with Zonda after sending it with Boreas, and then using the Kunai to modulate the level of the Boreas to go into some certain synchros that you need. This is a really good, nice little combo line right here that synergizes well with each other, and this card is really good. And then the last card of the new support wave is the big boss monster retrain of the original Blackwing Dragon, aptly named Blackwing Assault Dragon. So this is a big beefy level 10 synchro with 3200 attack and 2800 defense, big boy, that requires a tuner synchro monster and 1 or more non-tuner monsters, and then and it says it must either be synchro summoned or special summoned by banishing a tuner synchro monster and 1 Blackwing Dragon from your field and or graveyard. And then its regular effect reads that each time your opponent activates a monster effect, place 1 black feather counter on this card immediately after it resolves, and if you do, inflict 700 damage to them. And then during your opponent's turn, as a quick effect, you can tribute this card with 4 or more black feather counters, and that to destroy all cards on the field. Poof, gone. Just Raigeki and Heavy Storm, or Raigeki, Dark Hole and Heavy Storm, all in 1 card. This card is a lot. So first and foremost, you're never going to be summoning this the normal way, just because of how easy it is to get Blackwing Dragon out on the field with something like Vada and then getting into the grave, and then using Boreas and the Blackwing Dragon obviously to special summon this card is really good. This card honestly could have been a lot better. I kind of understand what they were going for. They wanted to stay true to the original Blackwing Dragon effect, but just give it obviously a more powerful effect so that people would actually play it. The Masquerade effect to burn your opponent every time they take an action is really nice, but obviously Masquerade is better because it works on activation of any card and not just monsters. And then the board nuke effect is really nice, except that it blows up your own board with it, which honestly really sucks. Obviously you have cards like Blackwing Full Armor Master that aren't affected by other cards, so if you can make this and your Assault Dragon on field, you can blow up your opponent's board without blowing up your entire own board, which is very nice. But I just don't know why they made this card blow up everything. It kind of feels weird. Another thing that makes this card kind of lackluster is the fact that it tributes itself for cost. So like I said earlier, there are only 2 cards in the entire game that have black feather counters on them. It's this card and the original Blackwing Dragon, meaning that if you wanted to use something like Black Feather Whirlwind's second effect to remove a black feather counter from your field instead of destroying your own cards, you would need either another copy of this card or the original Blackwing Dragon with counters on it on your field in order to use the second effect to protect your own board from the Assault Dragon effect. If this card just simply said remove the 4 counters as cost and then it destroys all cards including itself, I think this card would have been a lot better. And notably, this card's nuke effect is not once per turn at all. So if you could do that, then you would be able to use the nuke effect again, and that would actually be a really, really good boss monster for the deck. But unfortunately, some of the design decisions that they made with the support just they feel like so close to being broken, right? That's like my main gripe with the support. I love the support. I mean, I just want to get that out of the way right now. I love all these cards except maybe Black Shadow Squall. I think all these cards except Shadow Squall are really, really good for the deck and will see play in the deck going forward for sure. But they all just feel like 1 or 2 design decisions away from just being absolutely busted. Like I said earlier, if Su-3 had the Sword Soul restriction effect, where it only locked you into synchros for as long as the token remained on the field, this card would be absolutely bonkers for the deck. If Assault Dragon didn't tribute itself for cost, it would be absolutely ridiculous. If Shamal could also activate the original Black Whirlwind from deck instead of having to activate Black Feather Whirlwind, that would be really, really cool. If Shadow Squall could negate monster effects like Salamangreat Great Roar and didn't have to remove those stupid Black Feather counters from your field, that would be really good. All in all, this support lineup is really, really good, but it could have been better. And that, I think, is what's really frustrating for me as a Blackwing diehard, is that this support lineup definitely could have been a lot better, and I don't think it would have made the deck too broken. The deck still has a ton of inherent flaws in it. If you stop the normal summon in the deck, even with the new support, it's really hard to make a comeback still. So I don't really think that if they made these cards just a little bit better, I don't think it would have broken the deck 100%. But regardless, again, like I said, I am still very, very happy with the deck, or with the support that we've gotten for this new lineup. So without further ado, let's go into a couple of builds that I've been testing, and we'll show you guys a couple of combos that I've been labbing up with this new support. Alright, so for the first combo, we're going to showcase just how powerful the new stuff really is. This is a mostly pure synchro-focused build that ends on a really, really cool board, starting with just a copy of Su-3 and a copy of Black Whirlwind. So we're going to start our combo here by activating this Black Whirlwind and normal summoning the Su-3, Chainlink 1 Su-3, Chainlink 2 Black Whirlwind is going to search the Vada and search the Shamal to our hand. Shamal is going to activate in our hand, and we're going to activate this Black Feather Whirlwind. Next up, we're going to special summon this Vada from our hand and use our Vada's effect to send a Zephyros and any level 2. Again, this could be like a Harmattan or another level 2 non-tuner if you want. We just want to send another level 2 so we can get the total levels equal to 8 so we can make our Black-Winged Dragon. Next up, we're going to activate our Black Feather Whirlwind because we summoned the Dark Synchro monster to our field to special summon back this Vada. We're not going to activate the effect of Shamal Engrave just yet because later on in this combo, we're going to be using this to get our Su-3 back in the hand. And since our Su-3 is not engraved yet, we're going to hold off on using this Shamal effect just yet. Next up, we're going to use our Zephyros Engrave, which is going to set bounce our Black Feather Whirlwind back to our hand. Remember, this card is only a soft once per turn, so by bouncing this back with our Zephyros, we can actually activate it later in the combo and use its effect to summon something back again. But from here, we're going to link off our 2 level 4s into a Raid Raptor Y-Strix, which is going to summon a level 4 non-tuner. This could be, again, another copy of Su-3 or another level 4 non-tuner. We're just using Bora for this example. But after this, we're going to activate the Black Feather Whirlwind from our hand again and summon a copy of Nothung. Now, this next interaction is going to be really important. So our Nothung is going to activate on summon to burn our opponent for 800, and then we're going to activate both our Shamal and our Black Feather Whirlwind in the same chain. This sequencing is actually really, really important because we're using both of these effects in the same chain. We're going to be using the Black Feather Whirlwind to summon back our Shamal, and our Shamal is going to banish itself to add back our Su-3 back to hand. Because Shamal banishes itself from grave for cost, you have to use the Shamal effect first before you use the Feather Whirlwind to target it, because if you use the Feather Whirlwind first and targets the Shamal Engrave, and then Shamal banishes itself as Chainlink 3, the Black Feather Whirlwind will resolve without effect because the location of the Shamal has changed places. So this sequencing is very, very important. Make sure if you're going to use the Black Feather Whirlwind to target the Shamal in the same chain that you use the Shamal effect, that you have to use the Shamal first, because it does banish itself for cost. So like I said, we're going to use that Black Feather Whirlwind to summon back the Shamal and then add the Su-3 back to hand. And then we're going to use our extra normal summon from our Nathang to normal summon our Su-3 once again. Again, non-once per turn search on this card is really, really ridiculous. So we can trigger both our Su-3 and our Black Whirlwind one more time, adding our Chinook to hand and a copy of Blackwing Twin Shadow. Okay, so we now have our searchable effect negation for our opponent's turn. And let's see what we can do from here. So we're going to link off our Shamal and our Nathang into a copy of Full Armor Master, leaving us with 2 Blackwing monsters on the field, which means we can now activate our Twin Shadow from hand. Twin Shadow is going to shuffle back 2 monsters. I believe we shuffled back Vada and our Bora from grave back into the deck, which is going to let us summon out our Boreas. This card is really, really crazy. Watch this. So Boreas is going to activate, which is going to send a Zonda, which we can then activate in the grave to banish itself and summon out a copy of Assault Blackwing Kunai the Drizzle. Remember how I said that this card was never played? It's really, really good in this deck now because of Zonda. So Kunai is actually going to target our Boreas to modulate its level from any level from 1 to 8. So we're going to choose 2 here, which is going to make our Boreas a level 2, which then we can synchro off our Boreas and our level 8 Blackwing Dragon into a copy of Blackwing Assault Dragon. And now because we have a Tuner Synchro monster and a Blackwing Dragon in graveyard, we can actually banish both of those to summon another Blackwinged Assault Dragon, which is really cool. And this is about going to be our end board. We're actually going to synchro the last 3 monsters on our board off into another new card. This is Scareclaw Trich Heart. This is... You can honestly make any relevant link 3 or 4 here, but this card is actually pretty cool because it changes all monsters on the field to defense position, which means that if your opponent wanted to summon something to beat over your Full Armor Master that wasn't a Link monster, they'd actually wouldn't be able to, because Trich Heart will put that monster to defense position. So it gives your board just a little bit of battle protection, which usually isn't great, but for a card that can really only be outed by getting beat over in battle, this actually can be relevant. Again, this could be any other Link 3 or 4 dark board ender, or you could just leave the monsters on field. It doesn't really matter. Again, I just wanted to throw this in because I think it does, the interaction is pretty cool. But this is basically going to be our end board here. Again, off of just a Black Whirlwind and a copy of Su-3, we were able to get to our Full Armor Master, which is unaffected by all card effects, and our double Blackwing Assault Dragon, which is burning for 1400 again, because this is not once per copy for the effect to burn or the effect to destroy all cards on the field. So this is burning for 1400 damage per monster effect, which means your opponent effectively gets 6 monster effects for the entire game before they eventually burn themselves out. And again, because Black Feather Whirlwind does have the second effect, which allows you to remove Black Feather counters if your cards would be destroyed, if your dark monsters would be destroyed. We control all dark monsters. So because we have 2 Assault Dragons, and these will both be accruing counters every time your opponent activates a monster effect, if we decide to use one Assault Dragon's effect during the opponent's turn to nuke their entire board, we will have counters on the other one, which means that we can actually protect our own board using the Black Feather Whirlwind effect, which is really, really cool. And again, these cards aren't once per turn or once per copy, which is actually insane. So if we gain enough counters throughout the turn, we can just basically pop, we can pop their board twice, which is actually really insane. Another really cool thing about Scareclaw Trich Heart is that it is unaffected by the effects of defense position monsters, including our own, so it can actually be destroyed by our Assault Dragon effect. So even if we use, the Assault Dragon effect once, protect our entire board with Black Feather Whirlwind, and then accrue enough counters to use it again, the only thing that will be actually be popping is the Assault Dragon itself. and obviously our back row too. Our Trich Heart and our Full Armor Master will both not be destroyed because they are both unaffected. And in addition to all that, we do have the Chinook in hand to negate any monster effects that our opponent activates that could be threatening. So this is honestly, for a 2-card combo, really cool. I think it really shows how powerful the new stuff can be. So let's go over to combo number 2. So for combo number 2, this is going to be very similar to combo number 1, but in this combo we're going to be showcasing the bread and butter Simoon line that the deck has been known for the past several iterations of the deck. Again, it's going to be very similar, but we are going to showcase a couple other neat interactions that the deck can produce, and a slightly varied end board that I think is actually really cool. So starting off, obviously we're going to activate our Simoon, banishing again any Blackwing in hand. This time, honestly, we're not even using the Ulcer effect to summon back the banished Blackwing. So this doesn't even need to be a Blackwing that could be special summoned back. It just needs to be any one Blackwing that you can banish with the Simoon effect. That's all. So we're going to normal summon our Simoon here with its effect, and then use the Black Whirlwind to search out our Su-3. And then from here, the combo should look pretty similar to the last combo that we showcased. We're going to obviously normal summon our Su-3 to add our Vada and our Shamal here. We're going to Shamal to activate the Black Feather Whirlwind, and then summon Vada. And then same thing as before, we're going to use the Vada effect. We're going to send our Zephyros and our other level 2 to make our Blackwing Dragon. From here, we can use our Black Feather Whirlwind. Again, same thing, we're not going to use the Shamal just yet. We're going to summon back our Vada and then use our Zephyros to bounce back the Black Feather Whirlwind. And from here, because now we're using the Simoon line and we have an extra body on board, this isn't technically necessary, but we're going to make 4 Strix here, and then 4 Strix is going to search follow-up. So obviously, with the first combo that I showed, it's only a 2-card combo, so you do still have 3 other cards in hand, but depending on your hand, that might not be necessarily follow-up. Same thing with this combo, you still have 3 cards in hand that are, not used technically for the combo, but just in case those cards aren't follow-up, we can make the 4 Strix to search out our follow-up for next turn, which is really nice, because then we're going to put our 4 Strix and our Simoon into a copy of LiQWYD Strix, and then this is going to be very similar, obviously, to the last combo. We're going to summon out our Bora, activate our Black Feather Whirlwind, and then use our make our Nothung, which is then going to trigger our effects again. Make sure you're using Shamal first and then Whirlwind second. Same thing, we're going to be summoning out Shamal and then adding our Su-3 back to hand, and then using our extra normal summon for another copy of Su-3. Again, same thing as before, we're going to add our Chinook and our Blackwing Twin Shadow. Then we're going to make our Blackwing Full Armor Master and activate our Twin Shadow. Again, we're going to shuffle back our Vada and our Bora here. You can also shuffle back a Shamal and the level 2 that you send off of the Vada earlier in the combo. Depends which you would rather recycle back into the deck. Depends, honestly, which way you want to go about it. But either way, we're going to summon another copy of Bora, or Boreas, sorry, which is going to activate its effect to send our Zonda, and then Zonda is going to activate to summon out our Kunai. And again, we're in a very similar board state to the last combo, but we're going to do a little bit of, a little bit different this time. We're actually going to use our Kunai to make our Boreas a level 1 this time, and then synchro these 2 off for a copy of Muddy Mud Dragon. Who This card is really cool, because now, if you notice, we have our Muddy Mud Dragon, which could be substituted for any fusion material, and a dragon effect monster on board, which lets us use our Muddy Mud Dragon to make Dragoon. So this Dragoon is a little bit different than the normal Dragoon you'll see on most end boards that use the Red Ice Fusion. We don't actually use any normal monsters for the summon of this Dragoon, meaning that it will not get any effects to pop monsters on your opponent's board, but it is still a Dragoon. It still gets the negate effect, which you have 5 cards in hand at this point, so you'll definitely have the Dragoon effect live to negate any card your opponent controls, and it's also untargetable and can't be destroyed by card effects, which is relevant because once we end on our Blackwing Assault Dragon, our Dragoon cannot be destroyed by the Assault Dragon effect to nuke the entire field, which is really, really cool. And then just to end the combo here, we're going to link off our last two monsters into our Rusty Bardiche, which sends our boots and gets us double Fog Blade. So this is going to be our end board. So Simoon plus any Blackwing monster, a 1.5 card combo, gets us to a Full Armor Master, which is unaffected by all card effects, a Dragoon, which can't be destroyed or targeted and has a negate at the ready, a Blackwing Assault Dragon that once your opponent activates 4 monster effects, nukes the entire field, obviously protecting your 2 monsters right here. Double Fog Blade to negate your opponent's monster effects, as well as a Chinook in hand, which is ready to also negate another monster effect. You have 3 monster negates, a Dragoon, which is an Omni negate, a board nuke, and then 2 cards that can't be destroyed by card effects. So those 2 combos I would say are more synchro focused with the new support. Now we're going to get to our final combo of the video, which is going to be focusing more on the Xyz versions of the deck. So for the last combo of this video, we're going to be showcasing what has been probably the most competitive version of the deck for the better half of the past year, and that is Xyz Spam KaliYuga Turbo. And to facilitate that combo, we are going to just need a singular copy of Su3 the Illusory Spark. That's right, Su3 is a 1-card KaliYuga. Let's see how it does it. So obviously we're going to start by normal summoning our Su3 and activating its effect to grab a Vada, which we will then special summon. And this time, instead of sending our Zephyros, we're simply just going to send a copy of Zonda the Timely Knight to summon out our Blackwing Dragon. Next, we're going to use our Zonda to get our Kunai. Now we're going to use our Kunai's effect to target our Blackwing Dragon and make it level 4. If you played the deck at all over the past couple of years, you will probably know where this combo is going. We're going to make our Y-Strix, which is going to summon out our honorary Blackwing here, a copy of Raider's Wing. Then we're going to make a 4-Strix with our 2 level 4s. Remember, we made our Blackwing Dragon level 4. And from here, it doesn't really matter what we search because this card will not actually be used in the combo, so we're free to search any follow-up. In this case, we'll be searching another copy of Su3 to use next turn. But it's also important to detach this copy of Raider's Wing, because we will then use the Raider's Wing effect in grave after we use the Y-Strix to set the rank of magic force, because we will be using the Raider's Wing to summon itself back by detaching the last material from our 4-Strix and then linking that and our Y-Strix off into Rusty Bardiche, which will then send our boots to set a Fog Blade. You don't really need to set the Fog Blade here, but it is nice to have just in case. And then we can use our rank up magic to rank up our 4-Strix into our Arsenal Falcon. Here you don't really have to use this, but because in the current format Super Poly is running around in the format, so leaving your board with 2 dark monsters is just asking to be super polyed. So in this case I will be using the Rusty effect to pop itself, just so we are only left with 1 monster and we can't actually be super polyed. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to activate our boots in graveyard, which is going to search our rank up magic launch. And then we'll use our Arsenal Falcon effect to detach and summon our Shamal. The reason we're summoning Shamal, again, because we only want to end on our Arsenal Falcon with no materials, so we can actually summon our Shamal and then use the Shamal effect to send itself and activate a Black Feather Whirlwind. And then during our opponent's standby phase, we'll be able to activate our Rank of Magic launch, which will then get us a KaliYuga to our field. And that is going to be the end of our combo. 1 card being our Su3, gets us to a KaliYuga with follow-up and 4 extra cards in hand. This support is absolutely insane. But that's going to do it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. If you did, please leave a like on the video and consider subscribing for more Yu-Gi-Oh content. Be sure to leave a comment down below how excited you are for this new Blackwing support, because I'm fucking ecstatic, man. I cannot wait to play with these cards in the TCG when they eventually come out. Make sure to leave a comment as well, what combos you guys have thought up and what builds that you're playing. And let me know if you want me to post the builds that I've been playing as full deck profiles on this channel. But anyway, that's all I got for today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.